And for a few days, he said the food was God, the plate was God. I would eat one bite and trance out completely because I was eating God and I was God eating God. And then I would lie down. My mother thought I was dying. He was still living with his mom. You understand this? To experience non-dualism while living with your mom. Narendra, having a very doubtful mind, is tormenting the master. The master said, the Gita, written by Krishna. And Narendra says, who knows if it's written by Krishna? It could be written by anyone. And he says, God this and God that and God is Kali. And Narendra said, no, you're worshipping a piece of stone. There's nobody there. It's all in your head. It's illusion. Now, Ramakrishna, he loves Narendra. And he takes him very seriously. And he's like, well, if he said that my states of consciousness are an illusion, maybe they're an illusion. So he's crying and he's very disturbed. And he goes to Kali and he says, look, all these visions that I see of God, are they an illusion? And then Kali shows him how the whole world is made of consciousness. And he gets tremendous visions and insights and so forth. And he says, okay, no, that rascal was cheating me. It's true what I experienced. So he's very angry with him. Next time. In the process, Vivekananda comes and fights, and Ramakrishna tells him at one point, he says, man, why do you come here? If you don't agree with anything that I say, why do you come here? He says, no, I don't come to listen to you. I come to look at you. I love you. And Ramakrishna was very happy. He said, okay, then you come. Vivekananda passes his worst crisis in life at the age of 21. His father, who was a rich attorney, dies quite suddenly. And for some reason, he leaves the family in debt. There is a lawsuit. They want to take their house. Vivekananda is the oldest. He's still not working. He's studying law. And they are starving. They are literally starving. He would pass days without eating. He would give his portion of food to the rest of the family. He tries to find a job, but his clothes are so dirty. It's very difficult for him. He dives into such doubts and despair. He's so angry. He's angry at the world. He's angry at God that his loved ones, his brothers, his sisters, his mother are starving, and he is starving. And he's so pissed, he loses faith. To a degree. He's having his doubts back and forth. He's very angry at the world. He was very manly in character. And when he would feel something, everybody would know that he feels it. He wants to leave the world and become a wandering monk. And Ramakrishna tells him, please, for my sake, stay with your family as long as I'm alive. After I pass away, you go, you become a monk. Ramakrishna asks the disciples to give money to Vivekananda. Vivekananda is very proud. And he says, how could you do such a thing? You humiliate me in front of the people. And Ramakrishna, he says, for you to have food, I will walk from door to door and beg. I love you so much. And Narendranath was very touched in his heart and did not say anything more. He asks Ramakrishna for help, and Ramakrishna says, go and pray at the temple to Kali. Kali will help you. And he's like, I don't believe in these things. And Ramakrishna says, go and pray. So the Narendra, who only believes in God without form, goes to the Kali temple to try. He enters the Kali temple, he sees Kali. Not the statue of Kali. He sees Kali. He can't remember what he came to ask. He's looking at Kali in amazement, and he prays and he says, give me devotion, give me knowledge, give me understanding, give me love. He returns to Ramakrishna all tranced out, and Ramakrishna says, you asked her? And he was like, she was there. She was there. And Ramakrishna, yeah, I know, she was there. Did you ask her? He says, I couldn't ask her. No, go again. He goes again. And he looks and he forgets completely. And he says, give me renunciation. Give me devotion. And the thing happens for the third time, and in the third time he remembers that he should ask for food for his family, and he said, I cannot. She's the mother of the universe, I cannot ask her for bread. So he asked for her to live through him, some spiritual wishes, and he returns to Ramakrishna. And he tells him, look, I cannot ask her, but you have in your power. You do something for us. And Ramakrishna said, okay, you will not starve. You will always have enough clothes and you will always have enough food. And from that moment it was solved. They were still struggling, but never did starvation or lack of clothes appear. Narendranath would test Ramakrishna. He was very creative. He knew Ramakrishna doesn't touch money. Or so Ramakrishna says, and he was like, oh, maybe he's lying. So he put a rupee under the mattress of the master when the master was away. The master comes back, touches the mattress, and he's like stung by a scorpion. His whole body hurts, he's walking backwards, and he asks somebody from the temple to check his bed. The rupee is found, and Vivekananda says, it's mine if I can, we're starving, if I can have my rupee back. And Ramakrishna says, very good, my son, you test your guru. You test your guru, very good. And Ramakrishna would test Narendranath as well. For 1 month, he didn't speak to him. He would come and would ignore him, speak only to other people. He would not smile to him, he would not look at him. And Narendranath continued to come back. And then Ramakrishna says, why do you come here? Don't you see I don't speak to you? And he says, I don't care, I love you, I will continue to come. And Ramakrishna was happy and he says, yes, my son, very good, like this. I was testing you and you passed the test. Narendranath, he would come with all sorts of intellectual questions. And he was speaking to one of the other disciples, Hazra, who was also a big skeptic, the nasty disciple of Ramakrishna, Hazra, who also attained high spiritual states by the grace of the Master, because Ramakrishna was very generous. So they sit outside and they speak. And Narendra, he says, you know what they say there in Vedanta? They say everything is God. You see this cup, they say is God. This bowl, they say is God. Me, they say is God. How stupid is that? What invalids? Look at Western philosophy, how clear. These guys, how stupid they are. So Ramakrishna was like, oh, hi guys, what were you talking about? And Narendra, he says, oh, it was a very deep talk. We cannot repeat it to others. It was very deep already. And he says, oh, Ramakrishna says, oh, very deep. And he touches him. Narendra enters Samadhi. First he's with closed eyes, and he said, the whole world disappeared and appeared as God. Everything in my consciousness was God. And when I opened my eyes, it was still like that. He said my limbs were completely stiff. I thought I'm getting paralyzed, so he was walking like a zombie like that. And for a few days, he said the food was God. The plate was God. I would eat one bite and trance out completely because I was eating God and I was God eating God. And then I would lie down. My mother thought I was dying. He was still living with his mom. You understand this? To experience non-dualism while living with your mom. Yeah? He was just everything was God. Constantly was God. He said, I would eat so much, I wouldn't stop eating. I would eat and lie down and contemplate how everything was God. And then I would sit up and eat again. Another bite, because I could not eat more than a bite, and contemplate how everything is God. He could barely speak, let alone think of something. All he did was see everything was God. And after a few days, when he came back, he said, these guys, they were not speculating. They actually experienced everything as God. They had a lot of fun together. If you read the Gospel of Ramakrishna, which describes just one of the disciples would come and describe what happens on that day. And there's like 200-300, I don't know how many days, but one of the days, for example, Narendra was out with some disciples and they come back and Ramakrishna asked them, what were you talking about? He says, well, we were talking about you. And what were you saying about you? About me? Well, we were all making fun of the fact you are illiterate, because Ramakrishna didn't know how to read and write. And then they all laugh, because they're all very learned men and they study from someone who cannot read and write. And they had a lot of fun. And on another day, possibly on the same day, I can't remember, Vivekananda was a musician and he was about to play the tampura, and Ramakrishna was like, come on, let's sing together for God. He loved the kirtan. And Narendra, he's attuning the tambura forever, longer and longer and longer. And Ramakrishna, he says, I want to take that tambura and break it on the wall. Can we please start singing? This is the brotherhood that existed. It was a lively, fun, happy. Ramakrishna would touch his cheek, would touch his chin. He would go down and feed him with his own hands. Some disciples would lie on Ramakrishna's knees, lie on his lap, and Ramakrishna would feed them like a mother. They would sing and dance and enter samadhi. Many of them would enter samadhi in the presence of the master. And he says it looked like a madhouse. I mean, it looked like everybody has gone insane. One was like this, with all his body stiff, absorbed in God. Another one crying in the corner from love. The other one also stiff in meditation. One dancing madly, shouting out the name of God. But they were in actual spiritual ecstasy. The whole group in the presence of their elevated master. Now, Narendra argues with Ramakrishna. Everybody's like, leave the old man alone. But Ramakrishna, he says, Narendra is the greatest of them all. If one disciple is like a lotus flower with 6 petals and another is like a lotus flower with 12, Narendra is a lotus flower with 1,000 petals. If that one is a little cup of water and that one is a big cup of water, Narendra is a water reservoir. You don't understand who you have here. And all the disciples was like, we believe in you, we say everything that you say is true, and we get no compliments, and this one, and Ramakrishna knew very well. In this process of arguing with Ramakrishna and losing, he is becoming sharp. He is anticipating all the future arguments that will come, and he knows how to answer everyone who will question him. Before Ramakrishna passes away, there are a few important events. He tells Narendra, now is your time. You can renounce the world. You can become a monk. It's okay. And not just you, you will start a new order with 12 disciples. And you will be their teacher. He's just 22 or 23, something along that time. He offered Vivekananda once all his paranormal powers. Ramakrishna said, I have everything. I can do everything. I can collapse the galaxy if I want. Anything I can do, but I don't. And I asked the mother and she said, I can give it to you. And Vivekananda said, will it help me to reach God? And he says, no, but it's very useful for many things. He says, no, I will become so selfish and so distracted by it, I don't want it. Nevertheless, a few days before Ramakrishna passes away, he enters Samadhi, he touches Narendra, and Narendra said it was like an electric current was flooding my being, and he receives all the paranormal powers of Ramakrishna. Ramakrishna cries and says, oh, where are my powers? I can't do anything anymore. Now it's all yours. Towards the end of Ramakrishna's life, Narendra gets his faith bigger and bigger, but still doubting. And he sits next to Ramakrishna's bed. Ramakrishna is really at the end. He had throat cancer and he was really close to the end. And he says, if now Ramakrishna will say that he is an incarnation of God, an avatar, a manifestation of God, if now he says it, I will believe it. And Ramakrishna looks at him and says, my child, you still don't believe? That who was Rama and that who was Krishna is now Ramakrishna. And not in your Vedanta metaphoric that everyone is divine, in a very direct way. It is the same being. And Vivekananda's faith is concealed. It's becomes solid in that moment. Ramakrishna gives them his mantra. Ramakrishna would repeat the mantra Ram all the time. And when he gives them the mantra, Vivekananda goes bananas. He's a very collected, very strong man, but he's walking back and forth on the hallway saying Ram, 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 for a while before that energy settled in. He asks Ramakrishna if he can just stay for his life basically in samadhi, go out every few days and eat. This is the life he wants. If he can please put him in such a samadhi for the rest of his life. Ramakrishna cries and he says, no, my son, you are to be a banyan tree. So many people will take shade in your spiritual light. I gave you samadhi and I hold here the key for samadhi, and you will not receive it until you fulfill your spiritual mission. And so it was. Ramakrishna passes away. You can see in the picture there, that's the body. And the disciples, they renounce the world, they take the orange robe, and they're starving. Nobody knows them, nobody gives them any charity, they're homeless and starving. You can see them in the picture there. There's Rakal and Vivekananda and others. So they pray. They pray, and the Holy Mother, the wife of Ramakrishna, prays. And as they are praying, one of the rich disciples gets a vision of Ramakrishna, and Ramakrishna says, hey, give them some money. So he gives them some sarendrana, gives them some monthly fee, so they have at least rice and some ugly, deserted home. They take the monastic vows on Christmas, not by chance. And the first talk that they have in their new order of Ramakrishna was about Jesus Christ. And Vivekananda chose this very carefully to show that there is a new message. The message of Ramakrishna is that of universal spirituality, which today is a thing, but it was not a thing then. And that moment, when he gave the first lecture, it became a thing. And that thing really spread out because he succeeded in his spiritual mission. And today, these are common concepts, the unity of all religions.
Hey guys, if you like this video, make sure to like and subscribe to our YouTube channel for more content on spirituality, Tantra and more.
And if you want to sign up for our online classes or for our retreats, you can see our website on the description below.